What is up guys, Deadset here. So we all know about the holy shotguns, the blessed shields and the fire starters that propel the Crusader class through the Torment levels. So how about we get an entire army behind our backs, send horses to trample our enemies and drop bombardment shots on top of their heads. Sounds pretty awesome, right? Let's do a full solo Torment 6 Rift with a pure physical, pets style Crusader with no unity and no fire starter, and I'll tell you about the build. These are the skills I'm using. As you can see, 100% of my damage comes from physical skills, thus I have stacked a lot of physical bonuses across my gear. Phalanx with Stampede is my main wrath spender. With a cost of 30 resource per cast, it justifies the use of the Wrathful passive for sustain. Please note that Stampede is one of the more demanding projectiles in the Crusader arsenal, requiring a clear, walkable path between yourself and the enemy. Collisions with walls and chasms will make it disappear and only serve to waste your wrath. Stampede has an additional effect of knocking back and stunning the enemy, which synergizes well with the use of strong arm bracers. Bombardment with Impactful is the first of my two high damage cooldowns. Since the 2.05 rework of the element types of the various runes, Impactful is the logical choice for physical damage Crusaders. It delivers a massive over 3000% damage burst over a decently large circular area of effect. Falling Sword with Rise Brothers is our second high cooldown. I will admit that this is a mostly flavor-oriented choice, since it also spawns 3 Phalanx avatars to go along with your tiny army, but it offers some acceptable damage, repositioning utility, and there's even a knock-up to work with the strong arms. The drawbacks of the casting animation and the needlessly long cooldown are still present, but the skill is growing on me. Steed Charge with Ramming Speed literally feels custom made for this build. It's both a physical rune and a knockback effect that works with the strong arm bracers. Steed Charge will mostly be used for mobility, but don't shy away to use it offensively if you are confident that you can take the fight and won't need to retreat out of some nasty affix. Laws of Valor with Unstoppable Force is already familiar territory for shotgun Crusaders, but I feel that it is required for this build as well. Even though Phalanx Stampede is 10 Wrath cheaper than Fires of Heaven, we aren't using Reaper's Wraps in this setup, and sources of Wrath regeneration besides Akarat's Champion are very welcome. And speaking of Akarat's Champion, we'll be using Embodiment of Power, another staple of the shotgunners, increasing our Wrath regeneration to 10 per second and kept permanently active with the Akan set. Embodiment of Power is a major reason why we are able to keep up with the Stampede spam and not have to use a generator skill. As for the passives, Heavenly Strength is self-explanatory for two-handed Crusaders. Lord Commander is not only the namesake of the build, but one of the most impactful passives in the entire Crusader repertoire, significantly lowering the cooldowns of both Steed Charge and Bombardment and increasing the damage of our main spender by 20%. Wrathful is hands down the best healing we have for high spending builds, and Stampede has a hefty cost of 30, making this passive a perfect fit. We round passives out with Finery. With 7 sockets across my gear, this passive adds a significant amount of strength. This is it for the build. Now let's move on to the gear. To be comfortable in Torment 6, we'll need the 6-piece Akan bonus, and more specifically, the helm, chest, shoulders, pants, and boots, with a Ring of Royal Grandeur, giving us the coveted 50% reduction of Champion's cooldown. Please note that I'm leaving out the glove slot, since we'll need another legendary piece there. Speaking of rings, I'm using a physical damage Stone of Jordan. The ring is a conventional choice for most endgame builds and varies only by element. If I wanted additional safety and survivability in Torment 6, I would switch it out to a unity for myself and my follower, but since a lot of you guys consider this cheating, and I am a fan of big numbers, we'll stick to the high DPS choice, this being the Stone of Jordan. To round out the jewelry, I'm using a nicely rolled physical Rondaus locket, nothing special about this slot besides high main stats. The reason why I opt for a 5-piece Akans is to be able to use the Tusker and Theo gloves. They are mostly known as an integral part of Witch Doctor pet builds, but in reality a lot of summons in the game count as pets, including, you guessed it, the Phalanx avatars. The attack speed increase turns the avatars from a nice damage boost into a well-oiled murder machine moving alongside you. I opted for strong arm bracers to make the most out of the numerous knockbacks and knockups that we have across our skills. Stampede, Falling Sword, Steed Charge, and even the S of Johan proc on my follower will all serve to amplify my damage. However, I must be honest here, not using Reaper's Wraps leads to some unpleasant moments in the demonstration where I'm starving for wrath for a couple of seconds, but I attribute this to my imperfect cooldown reduction and the several seconds of downtime of Akarat's champion with my gear. Even though dropping the strong arms in favor of Reaper's Wraps will make the gameplay a bit smoother, I will be missing out on so many sources of additional damage that I don't feel it will be worth it. The final piece of armor, the belt, is a standard choice for Torment 6 Crusaders, the Harrington Waist Guard. You've probably heard such praise many times already, but it is the only belt that provides high-end toughness and is able to double your DPS once you have the eye for containers that trigger the unique effect. Moving on to the weapon and offhand, a key part of the build is the Baleful Remnant two-handed flail. It's perhaps the most entertaining weapon in the Crusader arsenal, creating a Phalanx avatar for each enemy you kill while in Akarat's champion form, and since a Khan set piece ensures that you're constantly in Akarat, you can have an unlimited supply of temporary soldiers. An unfortunate drawback is that you have to inflict the killing blow on the enemy yourself. Assists don't count. This makes the Baleful Remnant lackluster in multiplayer, where often someone else will get the last hit, so I mostly stick to soloing with this build. As for the offhand, I'm using a Hellskull shield, which is an optimal choice for two-handed Crusaders, providing you with a 10% increase in damage and the ever-important cooldown reduction. We're using standard Paragon distribution for Akan set builds, 25% movement speed and the rest in strength in the core section, cooldown reduction and the rest in crit damage and crit chance in offense, all resist and then armor or life percentage according to your needs in defense, and area damage and life on hit in utility. And this is it for the build, adding yet another element to the pool of endgame viable Crusader playstyles and proving that the Witch Doctor isn't the only class that can have an army behind his back. I'll leave you with 2 more minutes of Torment 6 action. If you liked what you saw, I would appreciate your subscription to my channel. Check out my Twitch, talk to me on Twitter and Facebook that I added to the description below, and I'll see you guys next time.
Not ready yet. wish I could do that. Not yet.